Chippers, the boots on the other foot. How's it feel sitting there being interviewed?
Bit weird actually, and thank you for the interest really, because it is a bit weird calling it a day after 20 years. It's even weirder being on the other side of the camera, if you like. But we'll see where we go.
And this place is a venue, Trent Bridge. What does it mean to you?
This actually is, of all the places I'll miss, this is right up there, absolutely right up there with Roots Hall. No, I'm joking. It's right up there because it's, just look at it. It's a fantastic place to, even now, where are we in February, beginning of March, sun's out, it just looks amazing. There's nobody in the ground. You could quite happily sit here for an hour and watch the world go by.
And you must have some really fond memories of working here. What do you think are the best?
I would say that the two best memories actually came when I was watching rather than working. One was the first day of the Ashes test here, when Stuart Broad took 8 for 15 in the morning session and England were batting before lunch. That was a great day. And the day when England effectively won the Ashes 7 down, second innings with Ashley Giles, wasn't it, nudging it into the onside. I was sitting right up the top of the stand opposite us, just above the Derek Randall suite. As it turned out, that was the moment England clinched the Ashes.
And what about best times watching Notts?
I think 2020 comes to mind, just because if you go back 20 years when I first started, I don't think you would ever think that you would see Trent Bridge, apart from international cricket, have as many people in it. And I remember that first couple of seasons where you're like, wow, there are 6,000 people watching Notts play. This is amazing. This is fantastic. And now it's what, you'll know better than me, but 10, 12, 13, 14, 15,000 watching Notts playing domestic cricket. That is amazing. And I used to go kind of to get to almost instant reaction as the players walked off the field. And I walked round the edge of the ground in front of the Fox Road stand to where the dugout is on the opposite side of the ground. And to walk there, we're sitting in the box here where we'd commentate from, but you just get a real sense of the atmosphere there is, and it somehow out of the box it feels much noisier and much more special. But I always enjoy the 2020 days here. I look back to the season when Notts came out of the second division with Stuart MacGill taking loads of wickets with his leg spin. They were fantastic days because MacGill was brilliant to watch. Tended to bowl from this end as well, so you could see exactly what he was doing with the ball. So they were special days.
When it comes to doing your post-match interviews and all the interviews, you're somebody that never dodges asking the difficult questions, but you've managed to retain a sort of popularity and respect from everybody you've worked with. What's the secret?
Well, it's very kind of you to say that, first of all. I think just by being here a long time. I think because you go through cycles. Notts in the Championship at the moment are not having a good time, but you go back a few years and they were having a good time and winning the title. And I think just by being there through thick and thin, if you like, gives you the opportunity to ask questions when the times are not so good. And times have been good of late, and then there've been poor times of late as well. And I think just by being there and being in those up and down times, it gives you the chance to ask questions when and if you need to. In some people's eyes, you'll never go hard enough. They want people hung, drawn and quartered, and anything less than that is me not doing my job. Other times, people think that you've gone far too hard. Leave him alone, leave her alone. They're decent people. So it's about trying to achieve a balance.
One person that's been a constant, probably been on the receiving end of your interviews many times, is the director of cricket, Mick Newell. What's he been like to work with? When
I first started, he was second 11 coach under Clive Rice, who was director of cricket at the time. Or certainly, I can't remember his exact title, but he was in charge of the first team, basically, Clive Rice, at the time. So I got to know Mick quite well at that point. And that comes back to the previous question. Just, I saw Mick at that time, and I never ever spoke to him about cricket on interviews, as far as I remember. He wasn't director of cricket. He wasn't first team coach. He was second 11 coach, and you talk to him on that level about how the two's doing, who's scoring runs, who's taking wickets, that kind of thing. And then that, just by being here for a long time, he then comes through and becomes first 11 coach and then director of cricket. So, but Mick is always very good to deal with. I think what you get with Mick is an answer. You might not like the answer, but you'll get a straight answer. Sometimes he'll give you one-word answers. No, yes, deal with it. He's giving you his answer, and sometimes it's good to get answers that are not the 15-second media soundbite that some people will give you. So Mick's always been brilliant to deal with through good times and bad. He's always been on the end of a phone as well, so a huge amount of respect for Mick.
And Notts players and coaches as a whole during the last 20 years?
Brilliant, really good actually. At times when I would say it's getting more difficult as a sports journalist to deal with sporting organisations, I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but Trent Bridge has always been very open in your time, in previous times, always very willing to put people forward in good times and bad times. So fantastic to deal with. Would have no complaints whatsoever with 20 years here.
And who's some of the better interviewees, the more entertaining for the audience, if you like?
Fletch is always fun. Again, you never quite know what you're going to get, so you're always a little bit on edge. I've worked with Jono, obviously, on first as a player at the back end of his career. I think probably his final season, maybe his final 2 seasons. He was fantastic. Stephen Fleming, Jason Gallion, Chris Reed as the captains, Stephen Mullaney these days. All great to deal with. Stuart MacGill was a brilliant interview post-match. That when you get the mix right and you get good overseas players who are kind of the heartbeat of the dressing room, if you like, and really buy into the Notts way of doing things, that's, I think, when you get the most success out of them. And I think Notts have been pretty lucky over there. Hussey's another one that you'd throw into that. Great guy, fantastic to interview. But there are so many that have been a pleasure to interview. Graham Swan back in the day, Stuart Broad, whoever it is, they've all been fantastic to deal with. I don't think there's been a crossword with any of them maybe one, but we'll leave it there.
We're working for local BBC, and because you're all in football and cricket, you're covering your local club.
Yeah.
It seems to be that there is a sort of accepted level of partisanism with the commentary. You want your local teams to win, and the BBC, from looking from the outside, seems to encourage that.
Yeah.
So, have you had some enjoyable times when you've watched Notts have success?
Yeah, very much so. Winning the county championship. I think you're right. I think there is the BBC is not biased, but in sport there's I think what you want is almost to be a critical fan. So you're not, you don't believe every word that necessarily comes out of a club, because clubs are doing it, whether this is football or cricket, ice hockey, rugby, they're understandably trying to put their best light on events that are happening. Now, my job, and I think BBC Local's job, is to go with that to a certain extent, but be critical as well. So you do ask critical questions when they need to be asked. And I've always seen my role as, not to get into a slanging match with anybody, that's when the interview hasn't worked, but is to give the person you're interviewing, whether that's Mick Newell or the Forest manager, the Notts manager, whoever it is, give them the opportunity to explain what's happened and what the position is, what the way out of this is going forward. And I think that's really important. I think if you keep talking over them, Larry King had the great line, "I never learned anything while I was talking." And I think that's absolutely right, because if you're interviewing somebody, you want them, and therefore your audience, to hear exactly what the problem is. Now, you can ask questions off the back of what they say and question what they say, but give them the opportunity to say it.
And what's it like having the opportunity to call a trophy win? Because you've had a few of those.
Yeah, really good. And you can't prepare for those moments. You can think about what you might say, but if you think about it too deeply, then you kind of ruin the moment, and you try and fit the moment into what you were going to say. Whereas actually, it's much more important to go with the moment and describe, especially on radio, describe what you can see. So the first thing is Notts have won the game, they've won the trophy, and then describe the scenes. You don't need much more than that. You might need a bit more about where the ball's gone or what stump has come out the ground to win it, but you don't need a lot more. You just need that moment and sum it up as briefly as you can, 20, 30 seconds. I'm not a big stats man, never have been, never will be, I don't think. So other people do that and use stats fantastically well, but that's not me, so I don't try and cram it in.
And if I was going to ask you, what's the best innings you've seen in your time calling Notts or calling matches at Trent Bridge?
Oh, I think that's really difficult, partly because of my memory, but I kind of enjoy the moment, really. So I think about, we talked earlier about players, I've enjoyed watching MacGill or David Hussey or Stephen Fleming bat, Samit Patel, Mullane, whoever it might be. Peterson, Kevin Peterson would have played some of the best innings I've seen in a Nottinghamshire. I don't think about, oh, he's got 192 against Derbyshire here or whatever. I just remember them as great players. So I would think more about great players than great innings. So Peterson would have undoubtedly played some of them. I remember Bicknell and Welton at Edgbaston covering that game. They put 400 on for the first wicket. Great moments, great achievements in sport, rather than great statistics. But so many great players to have watched that it's been an absolute privilege. But I don't remember their numbers.
Best spell of bowling?
That's easy though. Having said all of that, that's easy, because I was sat over there in the Fox Road stand, Stuart Broad, on the morning of the Test match against Australia, 8 for 15, and that famous kind of, I remember that cartoon afterwards. There's a clip of Alistair Cook, or a picture of Alistair Cook and Michael Clarke at the toss, and Michael Clarke saying to Alistair Cook, "Geez, Alistair, I don't know whether to have a bat or a bowl this morning." And thanks to Stuart Broad, the caption came back from Alistair Cook saying, "Oh, why don't you do both?" And I just thought that was brilliant, and that summed up the morning. So for me, Stuart Broad's 8 for 15. I doubt I'll ever see a spell of bowling like that.
And what was the atmosphere like among the crowd? Because you said you were in the stand while that was unfolding. What was it like to be in amongst it?
Disbelief. I mean, it was really noisy, obviously, and you know, there gets to a point where you think, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. But really noisy, really atmospheric. And then there's that kind of English way where you think, oh, hang on, if they're all out for 60, how many are we going to get? We need at least 150. And as it turned out, Root played magnificently in the afternoon, and England won the Test match pretty comfortably in the end. But fantastic place to watch cricket. And I do like, you know, whether it be that Test match, sitting amongst the crowd and kind of soaking it all in, or often I've been down on a Monday to watch a county championship match, brought my book, you know, got a coffee or something, and just let it wash over you, because when you're involved in it and you're sitting in here, you have to pay attention to everything and everything that's going on. You need to know what the stand is and what each batsman's on, what the score is, how many's needed to win. But actually, it's really nice to sit here sometimes and not worry about that. I don't need to know how many Mullane's got. I don't need to know how many wickets Notts need. I can just let it wash all over me. That's fantastic to do here as well.
And just finally, I know I said finally on the last
finally,
one.
Finally.
Just describe this place to me.
I'll never forget Trent Bridge, actually, in terms of a place to work. You look around here, you know, what more could you want? Fantastic view. The way it looks. And I think, importantly, the atmosphere. And I don't mean the atmosphere in terms of the atmosphere within the ground when a wicket's taken. I mean the atmosphere around the ground, and the stewards, the friendliness of it, how welcoming everybody is, how happy everybody is to be here. And that's the thing I'll remember as much as anything, I think.
Chippers, thanks for everything. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers.